The Obliteration of the Kingdoms of Lies. Author, Othniel Max Daves. The deceptive mirage and prison of wealth, power, influence, fame, and control in your world are explained in a short paragraph. Isn't it amazing that many of today's leaders of governments rule like immortal gods, but are protected like vulnerable little children? That is not new. It has been most but not all of your history. It is also not sequestered to leaders of governments. Along with them, the ruling elite throughout all of history have had to be protected by entire armies and live in gated communities separated from the masses over which they ruled. That sounds a lot like a prison existence. What does that tell you about wealth, power, influence, fame, and control in this world? Who do they have to be protected from? Well, first off, their own people whom they fear the most, and then secondarily, their enemies, whom they fear also. They have to protect and project one image to everyone on the surface, yet the reality behind the facade and inside them is quite a different reality. Is that not the shallowness of life? What do you call those who live in daily fear and insecurity, and are bound to external appearances and expectations that they must constantly maintain and attempt to appease? Prisoners and enslaved people. These same elites construct elaborate systems of government and security, not so much for those they rule, but to protect themselves from those they rule over. Now, think about that. Think about why your world is as it is. The more you have, the more you have to protect. The more you have fame and influence, the more of a target you are by the expectations of others. The more power you have, the more others lust for it and desire to take it from you. The more wealth and possessions you have, the more others covet it and seek ways to take it from you. The more you fear those taking it away from you, the more control you desire to protect yourselves from them. The more power you gain, the more you create the conditions for enemies to rise and take that control away from you, which drives you to become more paranoid and control even more, fueling the conditions you fear most. See where this ends. The more one has of these things, the more one desires more of them, including control, to protect them from those who lust for them and would do anything to take it from them. The more you take for yourselves, the less there is for everyone else, undermining the very ground you stand upon in the heights of the land over the people. The less they have, the more they see you as the reason for it and hate you. In this way, you fuel your demise by your thinking, decisions, and actions in ever-growing fear, confusion, and stress, which turns you into the very beast you feared in the first place. Broad is that path to destruction. Now, consider why I call the false promises of this world a lie. Everything has a cost here now. As for people, so too for nations. When you dry up the ground beneath your feet financially and crush and plunder those simply who are trying to make a living and provide for their families, you destabilize everything you who have the most wealth, power, influence, fame, and control gained, and put all of it at risk in your indifference, blind ambition, greed, fear, confusion, and avarice and hubris. Instead of building a better society, you devour and destroy the one you have, until it eventually devours and destroys you. Is this not precisely your global predicament right now? That is not new. It is the totality of your history. There is nothing new under the sun, but the timing of its consequences, as you can see here in the post. When you build a world that always promises more, and you scrap truth, love, justice, mercy, humility, contentment, and restraint, you create a beast from the black hole of your emptiness, which devours and destroys both you and the entire world. It is a world ruled by more, and delivers even less on the promises. It is a chasing after your shadow. It is a world of darkness in it. It is a chasing after the wind. It is a sowing of the wind that will bring the reaping of it in a whirlwind of consequences. This is your predicament. This is your prison. This is your world. It is how it functions and how and why it will end. The nature of addiction is based on the lie that you always need more. Is this not your entire world? Is it not what has driven all that causes human suffering and destruction of your kingdoms, nations, empires, and people? It is but an empty shadow of the eternal realm. That's why we call it the Valley of the Shadows of Death. There will never be enough temporal people, places, and things to fill the infinite space that only the eternal Spirit of God can fill. Attempting to do otherwise is the singular reason your global world history is the wreckage it has always been. Now you know why this world is temporal. You also now understand why it will end. It was never made for eternity. Neither are your mortal coils. As for people, so too for the nations. This is your world. You don't know because you don't seek. You don't seek because you don't want to know. You don't know because you don't ask. You don't ask because you don't think you can, don't want to, or believe you will receive. You don't see because you don't realize you are without sight. You don't have sight to see because you are in darkness. You are in darkness because you believe lies. You believe lies because you don't seek, see, or ask for the truth. Why is this? Because you are in fear of what you see, hear, and come to know. Fear is false evidence appearing real. You are in fear because you are deceived and enslaved by lies. The lies cannot exist without deceiving you and keeping you from the truth. For the lies cannot tolerate asking for truth, nor questioning whether or not it is true. Thus, the lie keeps in the darkness bound to itself, using you against your best interests to keep you from being free from its tyranny in fear and confusion, having been deceived by it. Hence, you do not ask, do not seek, do not see, and do not know. Yet you lie to yourselves and others, calling lies truth and truth lies. Even waging war against the truth being a proxy for the very lie that is enslaving and destroying you, keeping you from the same truth you are being used to fight against. By fighting against the truth, you expose yourselves and prove it true while yourselves in a lie. Thus, you, in your darkness and the lies, are exposed in and by the light of the truth. So you deny it and attempt to discredit, fight it, and silence it even more in pride, which only further quickens your exposure by the light of the truth. So you attempt to ignore and pretend it does not exist, worsening your condition and hastening the consequences there wherein. And many of you wonder why your world is as it is. You do know why. I have told you. The question is, how long will you deny this and continue to remain in the darkness that characterizes your world, even to your destruction? As for people, so too for the nation and nations. You may deny the existence of the living Word of God, the living Logos, but your logic falls apart, attempting to refute it and war against it. So, too, does all you make and rely on apart in doing so, including your lives, societies, and nations. For you corrupt, all things being in a lie, denying the very thing which upholds and sustains your world and everything in it. Then you blame God. You blame the light of the truth, calling it a lie. Do you pretend you are without error and unquestionable? Do you think you are immune from the consequences of doing so? Yet you wonder why things are as they are. You do know. You are lying when you tell yourselves and others anything different. Yet you demand truth from others. Yet when they tell you the truths you do not wish to hear, you hate and attack them. What does this say about you and what you are doing and being exposed to? It shows you that the darkness you are in cannot stand up to the truth, but, in fact, is dependent upon it just as you are, even though your pride cannot admit it. Thus, you destroy yourselves in that pride by serving the lies leading you straight to it. This is your world. There are no more excuses, nor will you be allowed to continue to rule this world or the one to come. Those lies have a cost, and costs equate to loss. So it was, so it is, and so it will be. There is truth you will deny as well, right up until your destruction, lest you turn from your lies to the truth. There is nothing more illogical than to choose a lie over the truth, and then proclaim your lies as truth. This, too, is exposed. Still think everyone, including you reading or hearing this, doesn't need grace? It is incredible how many wish to undermine the fundamentals of Christianity, only to find they have exposed and undermined themselves, their intents, and the corrupted ways they have attempted to do so. All this proves that they fight truth, and are themselves in a lie. The darkness rises in each generation, attempting to rerun a repackaged war against the truth, only to be utterly exposed and defeated. This time is no different. This generation is no different. With one exception, the lies will be obliterated for all time, space, and history. Welcome to the holy fire, you who are adversaries. It is all consuming of that which is not from it, and of it while exposing all things. Those who wish to cancel truth do so at their peril and embark upon an endeavor that cancels them out of the book of life by their thinking, choices, decisions, and actions. I learned early on to question things and seek the truth about them wherever it led me. That has been a great gift to me my whole life. I also learned not to follow the herd, instead going against it without regard to the consequences, which often meant isolation and alienation. From a young age, I had a strong sense of justice and mercy, which has served me well. What I also learned is that here in America, people use a lot of words and say little. They also use a lot of words and mislead many. You see, I have been a maverick my entire life, not without cause, however. America taught me much throughout my life. What it taught me the most was not to bend a knee to it while loving the people in it. It taught me not to trust people or governments, money or power, influence or popularity. Those have served me well, also. America also showed me it is a tale of two completely different nations, one that actually aspires to live up to what it purports, and the other one that uses it to make merchandise out of everyone else. It would seem that not worshipping America has also granted me the vision to see not only what it is, but also what it should be and could be. It also showed me what most worship here is themselves and money. Many, if not most, don't worship God. They make their own here and then pretend they aren't doing it. It would seem those who also bent a knee to America corrupted it, and themselves in the process. They are inherently unworthy to govern it, nor continue to plunder the people of it to serve their bottomless pit of greed, pride, and idolatry of self and possessions. They do not truly love Americans or the nation. They only love what they can get out of them without regard to the consequences. Their time is coming to a close. So, too, is their control over everyone else. The world does not suffer from a lack of truth. It suffers from a denial of it and the corruption of it when they attempt to take what is true and use it for corrupted reasons and in corrupted ways in their wisdom and works apart from the spirit of truth, which is the light of the living word of God. Hence, they are darkened by the spirit of the age in their minds and enslaved to it in their minds, bodies, and souls, having been deceived by lies. There is a reason we tell you that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. The reason you peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations are in the state they are is because they have been and are being deceived by lies meant to divide, distort, enslave, devour, and destroy you by using you all against one another to protect the very darkness of the lie that is doing it to you. You are in a war. The truth sets the prisoners free and defeats the enemies of the truth. Are you tired of being manipulated by lies, fear, confusion, the expectations of others, the oppression thereof, and your addictions? Seek the truth in all things with all of your heart, and you will find it and find a freedom you never knew was possible in the light of the truth as the darkness and the things in the darkness that held you fast in. Chains are exposed and defeated once and for all. There is a reason we who are free say to you that we are more than conquerors. We fight for you to be free in the light of the truth. We will not be defeated, for we have already won this war. Tell me this. Name one single thing that Satan, meaning the adversary, created ex nihilo, meaning out of nothing. Some will say evil. Evil was not made out of nothing. Satan created nothing. It only distorted, mixed up, confused, and corrupted what already was, is, and always has been. That being the truth. A distortion, mixing up, confusion, and corruption of truth is the genesis, or, better said, the origin of lies. Do not lies bring about confusion and error? Indeed, it does. A lie is the misappropriation, misuse, mixing up, and misapplication of truth to mislead and deceive in intent and outcomes. The truth is not dependent upon lies to exist. The lie is dependent upon truth to exist. This is seen in how a shadow cannot exist without the light that casts it down to the dust of the ground from an object. The darkness of the shadow is dependent upon the very light it flees from, for you will never see a shadow point towards the light, only away from the light. It is a lie when some tell you there is a balance of light and darkness. They are not in harmony. They are oppositional, and they are not equal. The darkness depends upon the light to exist, which means that the light exposes and extinguishes the darkness in the same way that the truth exposes the darkness of the shadow and all that is deceptive and confused in it. Where one finds evil, they will also find pride, fear, and confusion. For a lie rules by, in, and for those things. Those things are not in truth and love, justice and mercy, humility and contriteness of heart and soundness of mind. As we say in Christianity, the God of truth did not give you a spirit of fear or confusion, but peace, love, power, and a sound mind. One cannot have a sound mind when they are in a lie and blinded by fear and confusion. Likewise, being deceived by a lie steals your peace, corrupts and counterfeits love, drains your power, and confuses your thinking and perceptions. Hence why it is, of, and in the darkness. That darkness projects upon people what it is, and what it is in using deception and lies to enslave. It comes to kill, steal, and destroy. Is this not what pride, fear, confusion, corruption, and lies are manufactured in this world in your minds, bodies, and souls? Being that evil seeks to distort, deceive, enslave, dominate, plunder, devour, and destroy people, places, and things, it waged war against all humanity, seeking to keep humanity from the light of the truth which exposes its intents, schemes, and plans. That is an act of war. Is not war characterized by all of these things? It is said, all war is deception. Indeed it is. All wars have their genesis in pride, fear, confusion, and lies. All these bring division, destruction, suffering, and death. Do they not? Have you not heard of the fog of war? War is the realm of uncertainty. A sensitive and discriminating judgment is called for, a skilled discernment to seek out the truth. It is the wise nation whose leaders seek the light of truth in all things humbly before heaven. The foolish ones seek to take it and corrupt it while hiding the light of it, only to thicken their own darkness and their blindness because of it. For all of heaven and all of earth testifies to these things. For the Tao of the humble is the way of the wise. The Tao of the prideful is the way of the fool. Those who think themselves wise in their own eyes are blind to their reflections in the others whom they believe are but fools. Yet God chose to use the foolish things in this world to confound those who are wise in their own eyes. In this way, He puts them on display for all to see the folly of the wisdom, and the wisdom in those they thought fools. It is in that spectacle the arrogant are exposed and humiliated, even as the humble are revealed. For wise are those who trust in the Lord God Almighty. Foolish are those who think them fools for doing so. All human history testifies to this among all generations to all peoples, tribes, tongues, and nations. All of creation tells this story for all times and space, that none may say they did not know, nor did they see what was present with them and among them and all around them in all things. For the fool sees neither what is perceivable, nor what is beyond the surface appearances of those things. For they have chosen to see not nor hear not, though in their hearts they know they are, but liars, pretending as their denial testifies against them also. Yet they are found without excuse or covering to hide their guilt and shame. As for people, so too for the nation and all nations. Othniel Max Daves.